Minneapolis continues to be in the news, and it is for all the right reasons for us drivers. We often talk about transparency. This one is valuable. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride-sharing video. What I like about this one, and you should too, talking to my veteran drivers, is that a lot of these news stories is using the word minimum wage, minimum fares, minimum. And what really that helps out with is to show that what Uber and Lyft are fighting against is actually bringing drivers up to a minimum wage. It doesn't make it appear as if drivers are trying to get rich or trying to get paid out here taking damn trips. No, drivers ain't making shit, and they're just trying to get something that they can actually go home to be proud of. We got drivers out here that are actually losing money. The pay is that low in some markets. We've had drivers come on talk about they're making 59, 60 cents per mile. So if there's one thing that's really good coming out of this is there are a number of articles. They're constantly running this shit because Uber and Lyft are threatening to leave the Minneapolis area and potentially threatening to leave Minnesota because Minneapolis has won an increase in fare for drivers. Now it's about to happen statewide. Remember, we talked about the governor, Tim Walz of Minnesota, and the mayor of Minneapolis, Mayor Fry. Neither one of those individuals is in favor of giving drivers a raise. Now, Fry is claiming that he is, but when you hold his feet to the fire, it's pretty clear that he's not. He did veto the bill, but I believe the numbers are, I think, 9-3 or 10-3 against him. So it's an overwhelming amount of lower level politicians voting in favor of giving drivers $1.40 a mile, a minimum of $5 per trip, 80% of the fees that Uber and Lyft collect. 80%, how is that not, why is that even something to argue about? That the driver should get 80% of the fees that is collected from the passengers. If I drive all the way to your house and you cancel the trip after I've wasted all my gas going to your house to pick your ass up, why should Uber get any of that? What did they lose in that? So the idea that Uber is having a problem with drivers getting 80% of the fees absolutely makes no sense. I mean, all of the loss is on the driver. So why Mayor Fry is suggesting that drivers want too much or the data doesn't match up, that's bullshit. And I've said it in every video, and I see a lot of you folks in the comments agree that at the end of the day, most likely, we'll say allegedly for legal sake, but most likely Mayor Fry and Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, are Uber and Lyft are in their pockets. Uber and Lyft are giving them an incentive to continue pushing back against drivers getting any type of relief because they keep doing this shit. And all the lower level politicians can clearly see that Uber and Lyft drivers ain't getting paid shit, with this huge supermajority voting in favor of the drivers. What the hell is the lower level politician seeing that Mayor Fry is not? Why is Mayor Fry's opinion so much different than all the lower level politicians? It's because he's ignoring the numbers. It's because someone is giving him an incentive not to go in favor of the drivers. It's not that the data shows any damn thing special. Now, we do know that if you look at the data coming from Uber and Lyft, it's skewed. They take the entire pot, put their expenses to the side, and then say, let's divide everything else that's remaining, which is not fair because the driver doesn't get the ability to put their expenses to the side. So you're essentially dealing with one side that's only looking at it for their net because their gross is put out the way, and the other side has to do both. It never was fair for the driver, and I think Mayor Fry knows that shit, but he doesn't want to come out and admit it because at the end of the day, he's benefiting by dealing with Uber and Lyft. But yeah, the transparency of this is probably the biggest benefit because that applies to drivers nationwide, not just in Minneapolis. The fact is that Uber and Lyft are fighting against giving drivers a minimum wage in Minneapolis would certainly make drivers, or better yet, passengers anywhere else in the country that reads those articles ask, maybe when the driver in my area, I had a driver in Pomona or a driver in Birmingham tell me that Uber and Lyft are taking most of the money. Maybe they were telling the truth. Look what's happening in Minneapolis. So the more Uber and Lyft keep fighting, threatening to leave the area, the better off it is for us drivers, because it draws attention to this shit. And make no mistake about it, they not leaving. Is there anybody out there that believes that Uber or Lyft are going to leave the Minneapolis with all that money to be made? If they do, and I'll put a quote on if they do, because they did it in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas gave some relief to the drivers. Uber and Lyft promised to leave. They left, but for a short period of time. There's just too much money to be made. The wages, $1.40 a mile to the driver, is not going to bankrupt Uber or Lyft. It's just an app. That is all it is. They just provide us with an app that the passengers use to contact the drivers and set up a trip. They don't need to take 40, 50, 60% of the fares like they've been doing. They just don't like the fact that if this shit gets out of Minneapolis, it's going to really hurt their greedy ass bottom line nationwide, if not globally eventually. That's what they're pissed off about, that, drivers are starting to get some kind of relief. This shit could become a big issue, so we need to squelch it before it gets out of Minneapolis. But thank you to you Minneapolis drivers fighting the good fight, convincing the right city council members to get this shit done. We need to do this nationwide, city by city by city. That is how Uber got its foothold in the business, getting rid of taxi companies and doing what they did. They did it city by city by city. They convinced the politicians, paid off people to get a foothold in markets, and just literally destroyed the transportation business for drivers. But hopefully this is a beginning of a big turnaround. It does look like drivers are going to prevail in Minneapolis after over a year of fighting. But like I said, it could have implications nationwide if they continue threatening to leave and these articles keep being published suggesting that Uber and Lyft don't want to pay the minimum wage. So shout out to drivers. As always, you know how the channel is ran. It's your boy Tim. Feel free to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep the fight on. See you in the next video.